College hoops, coast to coast. We're back at it again, my man Sweeney. What up, Kev?
Man, it's been a busy time. Just got off the road this weekend. I think we both were on the road. I was in Champaign. I went to Illinois, Arizona, which was high level basketball game and a sick atmosphere for basketball. I mean, that place was bananas.
Rocking.
The students were right. They had me sitting right like in front of the student section, which I always love. And the students would just like there's like a little like concourse area between me and the students. And after every big shot, like the students are just running up and down like crazy, jumping up and down, like they're giving each other chest bumps. Like I thought they were just gonna like start high fiving me, like grab me out. Like it was a high level atmosphere for college basketball. A lot of fun. Glad I got to do it. Back in the Chi-Town today, and stick it out for a week, and then home for Christmas. So couldn't be better.
I did see a picture of you right behind, like the video, or not the video booth, but like the main table.
Yeah,
like looking over some notes, like over the shoulder.
It was like during a replay. You know, they're doing all these reviews, and I was literally like, there was a second row behind, you know, the scorer's table, and that was where I was sitting. So, you know, Bo Borowski comes over to check the clock or whatever, and I'm like, let's see what we got here. You know, like, let me see what I can get it, because I can't see what's going on. So I do what I can.
Did you get the call right? Did you get the call? When
I was correct. Yeah, I was correct.
Okay, sounds right. Right. What do you think about the game, real quick? I know we're going to talk about it later.
Yeah.
2 quick thoughts on the game.
Arizona is high level. They're athletic. They have first-round picks. They have, you know, Lloyd's doing a great job kind of managing all those guys and developing them. And I think Illinois, once they get Andre Curbelo back, they're going to be pretty dangerous too. That was an outstanding basketball game. I did not come away from that game less in on Illinois. I certainly didn't come away with it less impressed with Arizona, given how hard it is to win on the road.
Right. You probably came away more impressed with Arizona than before, and probably even on Illinois.
Yes, sir.
Sweet. So someone that has one program that has of many, we will get to the Sweeney 7 yet again, the new setup, but we have one program guest that has impressed Mr. Sweeney himself. We have Casey Long from Murray State in the building. We're going to bring him in. Casey, how you doing?
What's going on, fellas? How y'all doing today?
We are good, man. Good to have you on. Thanks for joining us. Murray State in the building, home of many NBA players.
Yeah,
the current man of the hour, though, is Ja Morant. So we're going to have to talk about Ja, but right now we're going to talk about Murray State and what's going on post Ja Morant, post these pro guards, and I'll let Kevin lead the way.
Yeah, I mean, a huge win on Friday night. They go into Memphis, win 74-72. Behind a big-time scoring effort in the second half against a outstanding Memphis defense. They score 48 points, in the second half to knock off the Memphis Tigers, get not an in-state, but a regional win over a big-time program. And talk us through what that halftime conversation was, because obviously it solved everything.
Yeah. I'll start off by saying, man, my thoughts and prayers are with the families here in Western Kentucky, and that was in the path of the tornado. We've obviously, the game happened right before everything took place, but I don't want to start anything without letting them know our thoughts and prayers are with them, and we'll do everything in our power to help support them while we're here. But, one of the things I will say about the game, it was interesting, because Memphis is a really good team. We went in the half, and our players were confident. We had a lot of foul trouble in the first half from key players. And one of the things we discussed is just execution. Just like every coach in America, you want your players to execute better. And we thought that our guys in the second half followed the game plan, guarding, potential pros. And you have to have some of that, where guys execute the game plan. And you also got to have players step up. I mean, the bottom line is, in those games, you guys have seen it over the years, that you have to make some plays that you don't normally make. And be consistent in what you're doing to have a chance. And I felt the one thing, Coach McMahon, he did, especially at halftime going in the second half, is just instill a lot of confidence in our players. And they went out and executed, and we were very fortunate at the end of the game.
Can you take us through what, the aftermath of that win looked like? Because obviously there was, the severe weather really right in the area, and you guys had to get home. Once you got home, some of the devastation around Western Kentucky, generally, what were the emotions like? Once you're able to bring in the win, but also once you realized kind of what was going on outside of basketball, in the following 24, 48 hours?
Great question. It was kind of all over the place. I'll be honest with you because, we had family in Murray, and when the tornado was going through, you didn't know. So after we ended the game, we were on a really good high. Everybody's excited, but then you're thinking about your loved ones back that's in the path of the tornado. And so what happened was, everybody checked in at first, and then the storms came and so forth and so on. And so as we we're going back, it took a little bit longer. It's about a 2.5 hour, 2 hour, 45-minute bus ride from Memphis to Murray. It took a little bit longer because you're starting to see all the effects of everything. And so, when you get back and then you see some of the devastation and you start to see some of the ramifications of everything going on, as fortunate as we are to get that win, we're in a place that was very calm because you're just trying to make sure everybody's set. And the next day when you realize, I was fortunate. We just lost power for a few days, but you're very, you start to really think back to how appreciative of you are because, man, you start thinking about everybody that here at Murray State. We're about 20 minutes from Mayfield, and we have a lot of fans that come from Mayfield. I mean, we have some teachers that teach in Murray, Kentucky from Mayfield. So then you start thinking about everyone else, and then all you just want to do is be helpful. If you're an opportunity to be helpful, even if you have a little bit, and if you can help a little bit, you're trying to be helpful to those. So after the game, it went from a high, I wouldn't say to a low. It just went to a place of how can we help and what can we do to be a part of the solution, seeing everything that took place.
And obviously it's, an ongoing thing, but what are some of the types of things that you guys as a team and, an athletic department as a whole are hoping to do for the community that obviously lost so much, lives, but also, property and, family. It's just obviously devastating. What is the plan at Murray to address all of that?
Well, we have a shelter here in our arena that they set up immediately. There's a ton of GoFundMes all across the board with people here in Murray and Mayfield and all over. Our university has a donation website that you can donate to as well to help the cause. Just time, supplies, everything you can think of, because at the end of the day, there's some people that lost a lot, and there's some families who lost loved ones. And the one thing about it is all we can do through basketball is do what we do to try to be an inspiration for our community. But, there's nothing more you can do than sacrifice time and invest everything you possibly can and try to help others, because it's bigger than just Murray State and it's bigger than myself. It's about what we can do for the community and be a servant leader. So we're just trying to do everything in our power. There's various websites, but ultimately we're just being a sounding board and just diving in wherever we can to help and be a part of the solution.
Well, obviously we're thinking of everybody in that community and hoping that everybody can, get back on their feet as soon as they can. On the basketball side, what did that win over Memphis mean for your program? Right, obviously this is not a place that is new to success. Murray State knows how to win NCAA tournament games and know how to go on runs and go undefeated and all of the things that this place has done in the past. But for this team in particular, the guys in that locker room, what did winning a game like that mean to them, and what can it do for you guys the rest of the way?
It meant a ton to our team because, we have some all-conference returners in KJ Williams and Tevin Brown that have seen success, their freshman years with John Morant. They saw the whole picture of what it looks like to get to the tournament, win a game in a tournament. And they've been really good players. And last year, coming off the COVID year, they didn't have the success that they individually wanted with their team. And so it was big for our team because it helped mesh this group of newcomers from various places and let them know that we have a chance to do something special if you just take things one game at a time and trust the process. And so it gave them some confidence, not only to move forward as a team that, we have a chance to do something special, but also gave them the confidence of trusting your teammates in adverse environment. So I was really proud of them because as a coach, all you want to do is see the players have the success they work hard for, spend all summer working for, work all their lives for. And for that win, it was big for this year's team, no matter what has happened in the past, because it helped mesh a group of guys that haven't had that success thus far.
Coach, you've been there for a while, obviously, and you've been a part of some of the success that's happened. last year was tough for so many teams just because of COVID. What has it been like now that you got to have a summer, now that you got to have a recruiting off season, and now you're getting back to the ways of kind of what Murray State's been for a long tradition of, winning? What has that process been like? Because sometimes we take a step back and it looks easy because it's like, oh, Murray State's doing what Murray State does again. But behind the scenes, it wasn't as easy as that.
No, it wasn't. But I'll say this: the process has had a higher level of appreciation for sure, because you miss those moments in the summer that you spend with the guys. You miss the interactions that you have at the dinner table. You miss the interaction that you have on the road. And I thought one thing last year it showed how valuable a team and a tight-knit group is, because when you don't have it, little things that you take for granted with trust, relationships, they don't mend as quick as possible. So the first thing we did when we got back this summer is make sure that we have all the team together, and we did a lot of team building activities. Now, for the most part, for everybody to get to know each other, but also because we missed a lot of times. Even the guys who returned from last year's team, they didn't get that opportunity to experience a lot of that stuff. So ever since the summer began, we've enjoyed every step of the process, team building, practices, having the players in your office, just being able to walk around and just interact.
Right.
Because, what some things, you don't think about as coaches is, we might not look at it as those being valuable information, just saying hi to somebody in person instead of on the phone.
Right.
But man, that rapport that you build with your team, you can carry that over into the season, and it can be genuine instead of them feeling like you're talking at them. It feels like you're with them. So we've enjoyed every step of the process in the summer, August, September, just having an opportunity to be able to interact in the gym without socially distancing, just being around. I think that's helped every step of the way with this team so far. We hope to continue the success and keep building in the right direction as well.
Yeah, for sure. I'll let Kev get one more, and then I'll end you with a funny story. So be thinking, Coach. We're going to end with that. I'll let Kev get one more.
Hey, you mentioned your two kind of all-conference caliber guys in Tevin Brown and KJ Williams, guys who've been around the program and have experienced the highs and the lows. What has their leadership done for your basketball team in the first kind of month plus of the season as you guys have gotten off to this great start?
It's been tremendous, because it's not the stats with them, even though they have that. It's just been the fact that they've been through it. Veterans are very important to a basketball team. Veterans have a way of being able to speak when the coach can't speak. They have a way of leading when we're not around. They have a way of knowing what you want to do on the court without us saying it. And they have done a tremendous job of doing those things. They've taken ownership and understanding what Murray State is about, but they've also taken ownership that they want to be leaders and try to mark their own territory for their futures as well. So having them have been invaluable, because they're not only they're great players, they're just great kids. I mean, every day they walk around, you'll see a smile on their face. They live in here with the new guys. Our new guys take a liking to them because they know that they're going to invest the time with them. And so I'm happy as a coach to be able to see not only their success, the team's success, but see that they have something to do with it, because they've been around and I think they've earned the right to be leaders, and they're doing a great job of it thus far.
I love it. Yo, B, yep, you got it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so this can be a two-part. Obviously, you've had many pros there. Everybody wants to hear about Ja when he was there. What was he like to coach? What was it like to get him? Everybody loves any Ja story. So you can throw one in there, but you got to throw a funny story in too. So one Ja Morant story, one funny story.
Oh, my gosh, funny story. All right. I mean, everybody knows Ja is what he is, man, personality-wise, so forth and so on, man. But, the one thing about him, I'll say one positive thing, and I think of something funny to say about him, man. The one thing about Ja when he was here, he never left the gym without a smile on his face. Even as a freshman, when he came into the program, I always say my favorite Ja game out of all the games, he has a lot of them, is we played, Jacksonville State at their place as a freshman, and he really struggled that game. I mean, he really struggled. And the one thing he promised me, he said, Coach, the next game I play, I won't play as bad as that. We played him back at home, and, he didn't stat great that game. He was okay, but he guarded for 40 minutes harder than he's ever guarded in his career. And that showed me more about him and what he could be because he was a freshman backing up his promise against a really good Jacksonville State team. I mean, they were really good. And so, the one thing that I appreciated for him is he would do anything for his team to win. And now you're seeing it manifest in the league. Last year was assists. Now he's scoring. It's a lot of things he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I was always appreciative to seeing that process. Funny story. I don't, man. It's hard with him, man. The one thing about him, man, is like, he always had stats and he always had things that he would do well, so forth and so on. But we have a group chat with that team that we always stay in contact with. And the one thing about him is like he never likes us to bring up the stuff that you never think about. And there were games, man, that he really, really, he had good games and we'll pick out videos and stuff like that. And he had a great memory. And so when we'll pick out everything he'll do bad and stuff like that, he would go to everybody on the coaching staff and look up what we did as players.
Yeah.
Videos of us. And he would just wait for the opportune time and he would put it in the group chat. And when he put it in the group chat, he'll wait till all the team is up and everything else. And we'll have jokes and then he'll post it. And then everybody clowns the coaches. And next week, he'll hear about it over and over and over. And to this day, he does that. He watches all our games. And he doesn't pick in. He'll wait. He'll watch the bench and everything like that. And then he'll take a picture. And then 2 weeks later, you'll see the picture pop up. And he's incredible, man.
Yeah.
He's incredible. Good memory.
Oh, man.
That's awesome. I love it.
He always knew how to pick on the coaches, man. That's what we loved about him. He always knew how to set the mood in the gym. And he still does to this day. So, man, I'm just happy to be part of his journey.
No doubt. Yeah, he's a special one. That those stories don't surprise me. Although I've never heard it, it doesn't surprise me at all. It seems like he's one of those that keeps track of everything.
You know what, man? The thing that he doesn't get a lot of credit for is he's appreciative of everything. And I know he says it all the time, but he's a truly humble kid. So it's when the Memphis game was happening, he's just as invested in the Memphis basketball program as he is in Murray State. Not from anything else, but it's just because he's in Memphis, he wants to see Memphis be successful.
Yeah.
And so that game, I hated that he was in the COVID protocols, but that game was going to be crazy because of everything that took place. And just as he knows that, he's just as invested as in Amani. He's just as invested in Jalen. He's just as invested in Tevin and KJ. He loves grassroots basketball. He loves it. And so the one thing he doesn't get a lot of credit for is as he helps these younger guys come through the system, he follows them. Like, so if you talk to him today, he'll know everything about the top 50 players in America, just as you know everything about the players that he's about to scout against in the NBA. So he's a basketball junkie, man, and it's good to be around because it gives a role model for our players to look up to, as well as somebody that can follow that's been through what they've been through.
Yeah, somebody who's really studied the craft and invested in it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Casey, we appreciate it, man. Thanks for the time. We know you got to keep getting ready for the next one. Glad to see Murray State back doing Murray State things, and best of luck the rest of the way. And tell everybody there we say hello.
Man, thank y'all. Thank y'all for having me. Appreciate your time, man.
Thanks, Casey.
Thank you.
Good one, brothers.
All right, Casey Long there from Murray State. We'll let so Kevin's actually going to talk about Murray State within his Sweeney 7. So before
we'll get into them at the Sweeney 7, but just want to say again, I mean, we're thinking of everybody in that whole community, that whole area. It's such a special area of I think obviously it's more than basketball, but it's such a basketball crazed area. Like you think about West Kentucky and the success they've had, Murray and the success they've had. I mean, the whole state loves its basketball. So we're thinking of everybody and hoping that everybody who's out there is hanging on, and we're doing what we can for them. So please, go check out some of those things he mentioned. Where you can donate and help out and support the community any way you can.
Yeah, devastation comes in a lot of different forms, and it's never fun to deal with. And a lot of people, it's easy to take for granted what we have in front of us because we're not going through it. But credit to Coach for making that in front and center at the beginning. That just shows his character and what he's about, as most of us who know him already know that. But hard times in that area. So GoFundMe pages are pretty easy to find. Let's make sure we're supporting with thoughts and prayers and whatever we can give. College basketball keeps rolling. So we got the Sweeney 7, which is our kind of our mantra right now and coast to coast, keeping it real Sweeney like. And yeah, what are we starting with today? I know I got it in my notes, but are we going random or are we going in order? I think we're starting with Arizona.
We'll start with Arizona, who I think not only looks like the Pac-12 favorite, but looks like a number one seed in the NCAA tournament. Right now I think it's really hard to sit there and say who's number one, who's number two, who's number three, right? Like these polls are changing every week because everybody's losing, right? Purdue lost to Rutgers on the road, and obviously, we saw Duke lose to Ohio State on the road. Gonzaga has lost twice now. I don't think there's a truly cut above the rest team in the country, but Arizona whatever the top tier is, Arizona belongs in that tier. I mean, they're just an absolutely unbelievable basketball team. They have a guy who's going to be a lottery pick in Ben Mathurin, the sophomore that was recruited by Sean Miller and had a good freshman year. He has gotten a lot better. He's polished his game. He's become more than a shooter. He's big time. They've developed another potential first-round pick in Christian Coloco, who's there for 2 years. He dominated Kofi Coburn. No player I've ever seen defend Kofi Coburn as well as Christian Coloco did in that ballgame. He's fearless. He's got great rim protection instinct. He's outstanding. And as well as Tubelis, who's also a Miller holdover, who's really good at the four. They've got this Estonian point guard, Kirk Kriisa, who just is a ball of energy, and it's just incredible. He's infectious with what he brings to the table. So, look, they're deep, they're balanced, they're incredibly athletic, 1 to 5. They have, I think the best way I would frame it is they have Duke level athleticism, and they have Gonzaga X and O's. And that's a pretty dang scary combination. And look, Tommy Lloyd isn't Mark Few yet. Mark Few's earned that mantle, and these guys aren't all superstars, but they have that caliber of kid right now in their program. They have kids who are playing as smart as Gonzaga guys and as talented as a Duke or a Kentucky guy.
Well said. Well said. Yeah, I don't have a lot other than I think it's happened faster than what people expected with Arizona. And the thing about the shifting of all the teams that were at the top, and as people get beat and Arizona just keeps winning, they didn't have the hype coming in. They didn't have the big expectations. They're obviously dealing with a lot with the transition and sanctions and all these things around it. But here they are right there doing what and coach has gotten a lot of credit for being a big part of what Gonzaga has been. I think it's well documented, and just to be able to see Tommy Lloyd step in right away without the hype and do it in a way that's getting it done in between the lines says a lot. And I don't think Arizona's going anywhere. I think they're here to stay. So
not the way that Tommy Lloyd recruits, right? I mean, a lot of these guys are Sean Miller's players. Sean Miller could get players without a doubt, but Tommy Lloyd got a couple players here and there at Gonzaga. He was pretty good at that. So they're going to have good players every year, and Lloyd clearly doing a nice job meshing it all together this year.
Yeah, we've talked about culture a lot on the show. We think he gets that at a high level. We obviously know that. Even just having other guests that have worked with and been with. But I think they probably look like the best team in the Pac-12. Who Pac-12 has kind of got some ups and downs. They look like clear-cut. They're here and everybody else.
I saw UCLA in person at Gonzaga UCLA. Look, granted, UCLA did not have Cody Riley. He's very important to what they do on both ends of the floor at the center position. There's no comparison right now. Arizona is clearly ahead of UCLA. Maybe that will change. It's a long season, but right now, Arizona won, UCLA, and everybody else.
Yep. Got to give credit when it's due. Okay, so talking high majors, the second in the Sweeney 7. High majors going to mid-majors in state. Virginia did it with James Madison. Ended up taking an L, if I'm not mistaken. James Madison got the win. Almost high major in BYU that's going to the Big 12. They went to Utah Valley last week, Utah Valley was our mid-major team of the week. They also took an L. So let's talk about this concept of high majors going to the mid-major in state.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, and Tony Bennett had an unbelievable quote about this. He was asking, why did you give James Madison this game, right? And he said, look, when I was in the state of Wisconsin and I was at, Wisconsin Green Bay, Marquette in Wisconsin wouldn't come to our building, and I hated that. And so I'm going to go out and try to fix it. Do it myself and set the example. And, I give him a lot of credit. And again, part of it is he has unlimited job security, and he does not have to worry that if he goes on the road to James Madison, he's going to get fired and lose that game. But look, I think it's a great example to set because that atmosphere, I was not there, but I watched on TV. It was palpable. It was outstanding. The building was packed. James Madison, a beautiful new arena, and it was just jam-packed with people in purple. It is a great thing for mid-major basketball and for college basketball as a whole because want to know one of the ways you get tickets to go to a game like that? You get season tickets. If you look, North Carolina's played a lot of these games over the years, and every year that they go on the road and they play, College of Charleston, or they play at Elon, which they've done.
Yep.
You always see season ticket bumps at those schools because fans will buy the season ticket package just to get that one game. And so not only is that a revenue boost for the athletic departments that need that money, especially now after COVID, but it also is a door opener to that mid-major basketball experience that a lot of fans who are casual fans in the region, right? If you live in Virginia and you're a Virginia basketball fan, you buy season tickets just to go to this one James Madison game, you're probably going to go one or two more times. It's mid-January, there's a game, I got tickets, might as well go. Yeah. Now the door's been open for you to experience something different. I just think it's great for the sport. It's great for the fans. I think it's great for players to experience great road atmospheres. It's great for mid-major teams, obviously, because they get a home opportunity against a big-time program. It's what it's all about, and we need more of it. So, coaches out there, you guys watch this program, make it happen. Even if you guys are cruising big at a high major, go on the road. Go see your friends at the smaller state school and make a special college basketball night happen, like we saw with that James Madison game, like we saw with that Utah Valley game.
Yeah, I think it does something too. You talked about North Carolina playing at College of Charleston. We had our Rising Coaches Classic the week before, and all the buzz that whole week was about North Carolina. Hey, North Carolina's coming next week. This place is going to be rocking. And everyone was referring back to the time 10, 15 years ago when North Carolina did it and they won. And it just builds this energy. So I think even our event was even more well-attended because there was so much hype around North Carolina. And everybody kind of wants to, on those campuses, be a part of that win where you get to storm the court. And even if it doesn't happen, like you said, there's something to be said on both sides. The winning team or the high major, if they do win, you put your guys in an environment that gets you ready for conference play, gets you ready for NCAA tournament, gets you ready for just another battle-tested environment. And then on the flip side, if you happen to lose and the other team wins, I mean, those are memories that last a lifetime. People take pictures at those games and have them forever. It's the stuff that goes in the locker room. It's like, on this day and this year we won. So I just think all that stuff is great for the sport, and we want to get more people drawn into this great game we love. And there's no better way to do it than to do that. Although these high majors playing high major games are cool, nothing like that in state because people in the state take so much pride in it. Number 3 on Sweeney's 7, Tony Stubblefield has a star, Mr. David Jones. Talk about Mr. David Jones and Tony Stubblefield. Shout out to him and the job he's done at DePaul, which a lot of people had their question marks. Let's be honest. Sometimes the guys that are the high major assistants that are known for going to get players, they don't necessarily get the credit for being able to coach as well. Coach Stubblefield has a gritty group that is definitely playing all the way to the best of their ability for him, and you can tell.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, I try not to go like crazy and like, oh my gosh, I was wrong, I was right after 10 games because it's 10 games, things change. I actually did a study a couple years back about how, and for Hoop Vision, Jordan Spurwood does a great job, how your year one results actually aren't all that indicative of how successful you'll be moving forward. But look, the biggest thing that Tony Stubblefield deserves incredible credit for, there's an energy about this team,
right,
and a competitiveness and a toughness that was just not there last year and then the years prior. And I follow DePaul because I'm in Chicago and I'm around it.
Yep.
He deserves a ton of credit for getting a group together. A lot of guys who are returners too, including Jones, who reclassified and came in early last year and played mid-season, who they're just playing so unbelievably hard. And it's translated to wins. I mean, their only loss is a 4-point loss at home to Loyola Chicago, who's a top 25 team in my estimation. Loyola really hit shots, and Javon Freeman, who's DePaul's best or second best player, was in foul trouble the whole game and fouled out. So, they're doing a great job, and Jones was just outstanding. They go on the road to Louisville. That's a game that no one expects DePaul to win. And David Jones goes for 33 and 14. He's a unique player. He's a really highly rated recruit, kind of under the radar, despite the recruiting billing because he's going to DePaul.
Right.
And he's 6'4", 6'5". He's a lefty. He is tough going downhill. He can make shots. He is a terror on the offensive glass. I mean, he just plays unbelievably hard. He's a great culture builder and foundation layer for Stubble Field for a kind of hard playing program, because the guy just grinds for 35 minutes a night when he's on the floor, and it's fun to watch. So he's been great. I'm excited to see them. I'm going to see them in person Saturday when they come up to Northwestern. That's going to be a really important game for both teams trying to build resumes, and it should be a good atmosphere in Evanston. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, shout out to Chi-Town, Sweeney's hometown, getting it done right now. That Loyola game was a great game indicator, too, of like it probably helped them win the Louisville game, to be honest, because they knew that they could play with one of the better teams in the country. But that game had so much kind of Chi-Town bragging rights back and forth. They dug themselves a hole, but they showed how tough and gritty and resilient they are. It's like if we don't dig that hole, we can play with anybody in the country.
Right. When you saw them go down, I think 13-0 against Loyola Chicago, right, your first reaction was, well, same old DePaul, same old, big game comes around, they lay an egg. And they changed that narrative even in a loss, because they proved to themselves that they could fight back, that they are a tough team. And I think it helped them against Louisville when they go on the road in a tough environment.
Yeah, no one picked that one except them, I would say, going into that game. Going to number 4, we got Kevin Willard's player development. Let's talk about it.
I mean, Seton Hall gets 2 huge wins last week. They win against Rutgers, obviously a rivalry game, but they also beat Texas, a talented group. Look, they were fortunate to, get those types of games on their home court. But, this team is a great resume now. They've beaten Michigan. They've beaten Texas. They've beaten 2 top 5 teams in the preseason, and then they've beaten Rutgers in a rivalry game. And it all just traces back to the job that Kevin Willard does to develop players. Jared Rhoden's their star, their leading scorer, is averaging 17.6 points per game, I believe. That was before the Rutgers game, so I'm at the fact check exactly what it is now. He averaged 3 points a game as a freshman, 9 as a sophomore, 15 as a junior, and now he's averaging 17.5 as a senior. He's improved every aspect of his game. He's become a better rebounder. He's become a better defender. He's gotten his body right. He's shooting the ball better. He's more assertive scoring the basketball. And he's just the latest one in the line. Miles Cale they have on the wing. He's gotten so much better in his career. You look back to last year, their point guard, Shavar Reynolds, was a 4-year guy who was a walk-on originally and became, a starting point guard in the Big East. Kadeem Carrington, Sandru Mamukelashvili became an NBA player there after averaging like 5 points a game as a freshman, if I recall correctly. Every single kid in that program gets better. They deserve a ton of credit for that. It's why he is getting as much love as he's getting for bigger jobs, for whatever. And we don't need to talk about that, but he has earned whatever love he gets, whether that's a contract extension, a different job. Pay that man, because he is doing an outstanding job, and the whole staff is. I mean, it's not just a head coach. You could certainly speak to that. It takes a village to develop guys and get guys in the right mindset. But that is a program that deserves a ton of credit, because in a time when everybody talks about which transfer you're getting, which recruits you're getting, how do you get this talent, how do you guys see the NBA, they are getting kids in and they are making them better every single year, and it's paying off. They're a top 15 team in the country right now.
Yep. Yeah, I think to go to your point, when you win, all those things come. Other opportunities, extensions, raises, whatever, awards. So he deserves all of that. I think the part for the player development, it is staff, but it does start at the top. If the head coach has a philosophy and he believes in it and he instills that in his players, it's going to go down all the way through the staff. And I think they've created a system where they get guys, they retain their own players. You talked about several guys you named are 4-year and 5-year guys. So they retain their own players and they invest in the players. And players know some programs you don't feel like there's a lot of hope when you're not playing. And I think players in their program know, hey, even if I'm not playing right now, I'm bought into their plan for me and I'm going to get my turn. And when I have my turn, I'll be ready. And I think that's the cool part about what they've done there and what Coach Willard's led there, is that those guys are tough, hard-nosed. You're in a legitimate alley fight when you play them, and you just don't really know from one year to the next who's going to be at one place. You can't say, well, he was only this last year. So that's all he's going to be this year. Where a lot of programs, you can't say that. So I give a lot of credit to them, and I just think their investment in the players and that toughness, that chip on their shoulder, it feels like they build that into them as they're developing their mentality and their ability, because they almost don't put ceilings on those guys. It's like, hey, you got this role now, but we'll allow you to keep growing in this program. So credit to him. It doesn't always go that way. Credit to their staff. Absolutely. We'll go to another one on the East Coast in the Virginia area. Not quite East Coast, but East Coast. We'll go to the A10 with VCU. Let's talk VCU. Got some health coming back. You're excited about this ball club. Tell us why.
Yeah, I mean, I think first off, I don't think a team in the country got hit harder with the injury bug in the summer. They had two guys tear ACLs and a third in Ace Baldwin, their starting point guard, who they really needed because they lost Bones Highland, a first-round pick from last year. Ace gets an Achilles injury over the summer. And you're like, all right, he's done for the year. He was able to work his way back. They started saying, okay, maybe January. And then I just looked up last week, and he's playing. It's December 15th. I'm like, man, this is crazy. And he has been really, really good. I mean, he has look, he's a really good scorer. What he's really known for is his defensive work.
Yep.
And he proved he had 6 steals in his first game back in 20 minutes, which, I mean, is a crazy number. And he is
20 minutes. That means if he's playing almost 40, 12 steals. You do the math. Sorry.
Yes. He was on a 12 steal per 40 pace. Yes, which is absurd. But they missed him on offense. They got a lot of heat for how bad their offense was, and we're just kind of surviving on their defense.
Right.
Well, the 2 games they've gotten Baldwin back, they've had their 2 best offensive ratings on points per possession all season long. So they're starting to figure it out on offense. They have some young players like Jaden Nunn, who's been really good for them in that kind of forced into the point guard role. So that duo together is special. And look, maybe they've taken a couple too many losses to be in great shape for an at-large bid, but I think this team is going to be really, really feisty because they guard the heck out of you. I mean, look, the team that has played Baylor better than any other team this year, the VCU Rams. They hung in that game for 40 minutes because their defense was so disruptive. It is a weapon, and Mike Rhodes does a great job coaching that scheme. They are very bought into it, and getting Baldwin back gives them a shot.
Yeah, how do you like, speaking of shot, I mean, this league is known to be one of the deepest mid-major leagues every year in and year out. How do you like their chances in that league? We'll have St. Louis on later in the show, and we actually gave their point guard player of the week for mid-major for having 14 and 19. Talk about VCU's chance in that league. Is it a multiple bid league, you think, this year? Is it just one? What's it looking like in the A10 before we go?
Yeah, it's been a weird non-con for the league, right? So Dayton got out to an incredibly slow start. They lost 3 bye games to Lipscomb, Austin Peay, and UMass Lowell. Everyone kind of started carving their gravestone, and then all of a sudden they won the ESPN Events Classic. They beat Kansas in that process, and they beat Virginia Tech. So they're in the mix, but I think the path for anyone other than St. Bonaventure to an at-large bid is going to be really hard. Bonaventure probably could use a win over West Virginia to feel comfortable in that. They already have a neutral court win over Marquette and a neutral court win over Clemson. So I think Bonnie's is in the best shape so far for a bid. Everybody else is probably auto bid, although Dayton, I think, and VCU both have kind of outside shots at sneaking in at-large. But it's such a deep league. I mean, Davidson is scrappy and is all of a sudden, I think, 7-2 and blew out Northeastern on the road yesterday. And you've got George Mason, who started really strong, had a 5-game losing streak. Now they're starting to get that going again, it seems like. So maybe they're in the mix. URI's athletic. UMass can really score. Like, there's 6, 7, 8 teams that are just tough to play on any given night. I think I like Dayton as the second best team on the Bonnies, but VCU also right in that mix.
I like it. Yeah, the Bonnies being a top 25 team makes the league where it has a chance to get multiple bids. That's usually the formula for a mid-major league. You got to have one team that's in the top 25, and then someone else can have a chance to sneak in. Speaking of balling out of control, let's talk JUCO products. How about that? We haven't done that on the show yet.
No,
JUCO
sir.
products from WKU, Western Kentucky. We know Rick Stansbury usually keeps a stash of talented players. This one happens to be from the junior college rank. Let's talk about Sharp.
Yeah, John A. Logan product, Jamarian Sharp. He was listed at 7'2" in JUCO. He showed up at Western Kentucky, and everyone realized he was 7'5", which is just absurd.
Are you trying to say that our measuring in JUCO isn't good enough? What are you trying to say?
I don't know. All I know is that everywhere I saw him, he was listed at 7'2" from John A. Logan. And then he showed up at Western Kentucky, and they were like, "We measured him, and he's 7'5",
which is unreal to think.
And he got off to a bit of a slow start to the year. He was coming off the bench, and they've kind of had to thrust him into action. He has been unbelievable to watch for them, and it's been a big part of some of their turnaround from a really tough start to the season. Mm-hmm. They blew out Ole Miss over the weekend in Atlanta. This kid had 16 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 blocks in 30 minutes. And 30 minutes, quite frankly, is a real win. I mean, it is hard to get a guy to play 30 minutes in a game at 7'5". That's a big boy. So he since he was put into the starting lineup 6 games ago, he has had in his last 6 games, he had 6 blocks, 5 blocks, 4 blocks, 7 blocks, 6 blocks. And then, of course, he had a triple-double with blocks. He had 10, 12, and 10 against Alabama A&M. So he is a monster. He is blocking 20% of shots they get taken when he's on the floor, which is just ridiculous. Absurd. He's been fun. Can't make a free throw, but when you can block 20% of the shots and dunk everything and you're 7'5", who cares, man?
If you're blocking 20%, that means you're probably changing 50% or more because you're not blocking all of them. Yeah, he's a huge weapon. Someone who gets talked about a lot or early on, Chet Holmgren, with his ability to block shots and do that. Yeah, it's not the same as even this young man at Western Kentucky right now and what he's doing. So shout out to Western Kentucky JUCO products. Johnny Logan also has an NBA player that came from there, got drafted from Johnny Logan 2 years ago, the year before the COVID year, to the Clippers. So shout out to Johnny Logan. Shout out to Brandon Goebel. Got to give him a quick shout out. He's a big fan of this young man and was early on. He's probably the one that called it first outside of the staff. I'll give them credit. Staff usually knows, but outside of that, BG usually is.
And then he had Sean Paul tweeting about it like crazy. So I've known this name for about a year because Sean Paul's tweets are just next level about the guy.
Yes, Sean Paul was on our show last week. If you missed it, go back on the podcast. You can't get enough of Sean Paul. He comes with the most outside the box yet profoundly accurate things. And it's like, where's this guy? Where did you find this guy?
He's nuts.
He is that, and he doesn't write anything down. Straight off the top of the dome, freestyle.
Crazy.
All right, we're going last 7. Sweeney 7. Murray State is back 8-1. Sweeney 7. What we got? Murray State.
We talked to Coach, and they're doing an outstanding job. I just, obviously, a Memphis win is the type of game that wakes people up. But even before that, they had been significantly improved. They went to a neutral court event and went 2 out of 3 in a really good mid-major field. Lost a tough game to East Tennessee State, but beat James Madison, who we just talked about, who beat Virginia. They're probably the favorite in the CAA. This is a team with great guards with Tevin Brown, who's a big-time shooter. He's shooting 44% from 3 and had 6 triples against Memphis, but also Trey Hannibal, who's just kind of physical bully ball guard, kind of throwback guys that made a 3 this year. Justice Williams, or Justice Hill, excuse me. They have KJ Williams. Justice Hill had 5 threes against Memphis. He was huge in that game. So, just kudos again. It's a program where the expectations are very high. Last year was, a lot of teams would love a 13-13, 10-10 year, but Murray State, that's a disaster. So they went in, they fixed it, and here they are at 8-1 and right in the mix for right in the mix for the conference championship. I like Belmont. I think Belmont's probably a slightly better team, but those 2 at the top, man, heck of a league right at the top.
Yeah, great league. We don't know what league they'll be in next year yet officially, do we? Have they decided that?
Not officially, no.
A lot of conversation around them changing leagues. Give them credit for what they're doing. Yeah, it's not easy to make that bounce back. It's not easy to be a mid-major that has these high expectations and people just expect you to turn it on every year. And to be able to bounce back again is not easy to do. So full credit, and it looks like they're as good as they've been in a little bit. So, yeah, excited about Murray State. So we're done with the Sweeney 7. Round of applause. Did it big, as we do. We'll go straight to the weekly awards. We've already released them. If you haven't seen, we'll share them with you and break it all down. Weekly awards, high major team of the week. We got Baylor Bears. They only played 1 game, But as everything shuffled, and we've already talked about it, for them to go to the national championship last year and win it and dominate all year long. The year before, they were number one for a large majority of the year. And I think they're probably now 67-6 in the last 3 regular seasons, which is insane. But to come back again when Baylor's like, they lose all these pros, they lose all these seniors, they lose Mark Vital, who was so critical to what they were doing too, didn't go to the NBA, but lose all these guys, and here they are, number one in the country, and they play Villanova, who's kind of this standard test that says, like, okay, are they really legit, or is Baylor just not played anybody yet? They beat Villanova handily with as great a defense as maybe that they had last year, back at it again. They're known offensively as an offensive team, but this Baylor Bear team showing that they're a really good defensive team. I know I just spit out a lot of stuff, but Baylor's still doing it. That's why they're high major team of the week. Let Sweeney break it down.
Yeah, I mean, I think the average person who watches college basketball does not realize what an unbelievable accomplishment it is for Baylor to be defending at this high a level and this together on defense with the amount of new guys, right? We said four starters departed, a transfer point guard in Akinjo. Look, he's a senior. He played a lot of college basketball. It shouldn't be surprising that he can, pick things up. But they have 2 freshmen in Kendall Brown and Jeremy Sohan who have to play a ton of minutes for this team, and they are difference makers on that end of the floor. And they're both 6'8", 6'9". They're athletic. They can handle the ball. I treat it. They look gigantic. I mean, when they play Brown, Sohan, and then Jonathan Chama-Chachua, Everyday John, as he's known, this kind of big rim protector with a great personality. I mean, they look like an NBA team 3 through 5. They're so physical and athletic, and they switch on you. I mean, that team athletically and the way they defended made Villanova look like kind of a plucky mid-major. It was kind of how you envision like a Missouri Valley team going up against a Big Ten team looking. Like, wow, like these guys are pretty skilled, but they're like overwhelmed athletically. And Villanova looked overwhelmed by Baylor, and that is not an easy thing to do. To a defending a team that is a top 10 team, a really talented group, they look completely overwhelmed. So I think it says a lot about what Scott Drew does, what they're able to do. We mentioned before that Baylor deserved, that Baylor having its staff continuity. I think we talked about it last week, how much that helped them. I think you're seeing that week to week as to why they've been able to be so good so fast. Is that no, only the players are being taught new terminology. Everybody else knows it, and it is a lot easier to learn when every voice sounds the same. And I think there's just a great continuity and a great culture inside this program that's allowed them to be so successful. So they're a deserving number 1 team in the AP poll right now. Will they stay there all year? I doubt it, but it's a heck of a basketball team.
Yeah, they're legit. And Coach Jacobs was on last week, one of their assistants with me and Eli on All Access on Heat Check. And he talked about Scott Drew. We asked, what is it about Scott Drew? Like, you can't tell all the secret sauce, but what is it? And he just talked about, he said adaptability. Most guys, a lot of head coaches don't adapt. You're talking about a guy who's done it with untouted freshmen. He's done it with 5 stars. He's done it with transfers. He's done it with JUCO guys. And he's done it doing man. He's done it doing zone. And now to do it at this high of a level, it's like, got to give the guy credit. He's an elite basketball coach, Hall of Fame, no doubt. And his staff is definitely showing their worth too, because, Coach Tang, we always talk about him on this show, or we do give him a lot of shout because he deserves it. Hasn't been a head coach yet, but to be there as long as he's been there as the right-hand man and the captain of the defense, give those guys a lot of credit for all the things that they're doing there at Baylor. So that is the high major team of the week. Although there was probably some others that could have been in there, you got to give it to them for what they've done. Mid-major, one of the only undefeated teams in the country still. We will go with Colorado State here in the Mountain West. Can't say enough about it. I got to see this team early on in practice and thought this is the top 25 team. They were on the brink of making the tournament last year, returned everybody, and then added some pieces. But the good thing about, you talked about the continuity with staff, this continuity with players is just as important. They did have a couple staff changes. They were able to plug and play with some good assistance there. But as far as the players, all the players are back. and then you add a couple pieces, and then all those players have improved as well, and they all have that kind of chip on their shoulder. We know we missed the tournament last year. We're coming back on a mission, and this team looks like a team on a mission. Tell us your thoughts on Colorado State.
Yeah, I mean, they're tremendous, right? I mean, they're well coached. They have top-end talent with Roddy and Stevens that will be really high-level pros. I think the thing that always stands out to me, though, when I watch them is they're fearless, but they're also unselfish, right? I mean, they were down, late in this game. I think they were down 8 with 10 minutes to go. I mean, their backs were against the wall a little bit, and they just found a way to win. And a lot of that, I think, is that when they get into those situations, there's no panic. There's no one guy saying, "Oh, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to go run out and try to take over when I'm not playing well." Like Isaiah Stevens had 8 points in that game.
Yep.
He played 38 minutes. He had 8 points. How many, conference player of the year candidates are happy with 8 points because he was just like, "I'll sit back and I'll go get 10 assists." And that's just who he is. And I think, the same thing with Roddy, the same thing with Kendall Moore, who's been there the longest, came in year one, was committed to Nico at Drake. These guys are just incredibly bought into what Nico Medved wants to do, and it's paying off with wins. So they deserve all the love they're going to get. They're in the AP poll this week, which is a great accomplishment. But I think it's just the beginning for what this thing is, and for what Nico Medved has earned and what he's built. Because again, they Roddy and Stevens are still juniors.
Right.
Like if they're this good now, what's going to happen next year?
Yep. Not only are they still juniors, but I think you hit on it. They're unselfish at the top of the food chain. You got a great point guard, elite level big. That's kind of a hybrid mismatch unicorn, if you will. So you have these two rare gem players that are difference makers, all conference level players, MVP level players in their conferences. But they don't care about how many numbers they get. They literally just care about winning. Some games one will go off, some games the other go. Some neither one will go off because people are so focused on them, and they've surrounded this team with so many great pieces that know their roles. They have multiple guys that can make shots, multiple guys that can kind of go off, and they dig themselves some holes, but they're so explosive offensively that they can just kind of go on a run. I mean, I can think about Northern Colorado. That game, they're down. I think they're only up 1 with 4 minutes to go, but they're down 12 in the second half. They come back. All the games in their tournament that they won, they were down almost every game in that game. The Creighton game, this game, that game, Mississippi State, they're down again. They're so explosive offensively. It's like, how long can you keep that lead with a team like this? Because they can just go off at any point in time. And I think that's what makes them super dangerous and a team to watch come March. Texas Southern, we talked about it last week. Texas Southern got a huge monster win, top 20 win. They've been going through the high major circuit, kind of going to every team you can think of to play, and hadn't been able to get one and do a convincing win at Florida. Let's talk about Texas Southern. And Johnny Jones, a team that came off the tournament last year and got a win. And Johnny Jones is no stranger to winning, no stranger to leading programs and doing these type of things, but credit to Texas Southern for last week.
Yeah, I mean, I think the toll that these teams, a lot of HBCU teams go through, but Texas Southern kind of gets the pub every year because they play the name brands, pretty much. But, to start, I think they were 0-6 or 0-7 going into that game. And, to just come in and say, we're going to execute our game plan. We're going to play our tail off. And if we win, we win. And look, they punched a Florida team in the mouth that really wasn't ready to get punched. And, they deserve a lot of credit for being as prepared and as energized as they were. And, again, that's a huge win, right? That's a statement. It's the first time a SWAC team has beat a ranked SEC team ever. Mm-hmm. There's all sorts of other superlatives you can have for it. And again, it wasn't just there's sometimes when you watch an upset and you're like, man, that was a little fluky. This team got super hot from 3.
It was a dominant upset.
Texas Southern was the better team that day. They were flat out better than Florida in every facet of the game.
Yes. So we'll stick with Texas Southern. They have a player on that team. It's only right to give a player on that team player of the week, Mr. Jordan Carl Nichols. We'll talk about him real quick. 14 points. I think he was 7-7 from the field that game. Talk a little bit about his play as we talk about players of the week.
high level athlete in the post, and just did a really good job defensively. Florida has a outstanding center in Colin Castleton and a four-man and Anthony DeRuggi, who's super athletic and physical. And to deal with that matchup, you need your forwards to step up, because it's hard in those games. And I think there have been a lot of games you can think about when you look back at by game upset bids where you're hanging in, and then that one big man gets in foul trouble for your team, or that one big man starts to struggle, it starts to get overwhelmed, right? The job that Nicholas did in that game was so impressive. He was great at the rim. He was really good defensively and really carried them to that victory. It was a team effort without a doubt. It wasn't like, one guy went for 30 tonight. He had 14. Right. I think their leading scorer had 16. But he came off the bench and made a huge impact in that game, and it's a huge reason they won it.
So we'll come back to the mid-major player. We'll go high major player next. Mr. Ron Harper has a monster game against the number one team in the country at that time. We now know it's changed, and then hits the game winner. So let's talk about Ron Harper Jr.
He went and got himself a 30 ball, and then decided that wasn't enough, so he
hit the game winner.
But I mean, look, that shot was everything that we love about college basketball, with the fans and the energy. It was an incredible game, and for Harper to just the presence of mind with 3.5 seconds to go, right? Like, it was a scouting assignment miss to not double a post and stop Travion from catching it in the post,
right?
And instead of everybody looking and pointing at each fingers and like, oh my gosh, we just lost the game that we should have won on our home court, he said, give me the ball, and grabbed the ball out from under the basket. Someone threw it to him, and he went out and hit a 35-foot game winner. That was a shot that everyone will remember at Rutgers. I mean, one of the biggest shots in the history of Rutgers basketball.
No doubt.
A program-defining moment, a memory he will have forever, and it's just what college basketball is all about. So I enjoyed it thoroughly. It was one of those shots that it's very rare. It's happened to me It's happened twice this year. First time on the UC Riverside 3-quarter court winner against Arizona State.
Yeah.
And second time with this one, where a shot goes up and I just involuntarily yelled when it went in. Like, I was like, oh my God. And you're just like,
to the roof
and I was just going crazy, bro. Like, it was insane. I'm so happy that shot went in. Look, I have a lot of love for this Purdue team, but that was a lot of fun. I am very pleased that shot went in, because that's a moment we'll remember all year. That'll be on every highlight reel. So
it's kind of what the March Madness tournament is all about. So it's what the NCAA tournament is about. Those shots, those moments, those kind of underdog upsets, and somebody having this inspired performance where you're like, well, how did you do it? Everybody wants to interview them. So that's what it's about. One more inspired performance we'll talk about. Mid-major player of the week, Yuri Collins from St. Louis. We'll give St. Louis their shout out on there. 14 points, 19 assists. 19 assists. That's unbelievable at the college level. You don't even hear about that in the NBA level. As good as those guys are and as generous as they are in stats and giving those guys assists, college assists are not easy to get, and they get 19 of them. I was a point guard. I was an assist guy, so I can't wait to talk to this young man later. But 19 of them, that's amazing.
And he also didn't miss a shot from the field. 5 for 5 from the field, 19 assists, 2 turnovers. Not a bad day. They've needed guys to step up. They lost their superstar, Javonte Perkins, a week before the season with an ACL. It was backbreaking. He's everything to what they do, and they've needed guys to step into bigger roles. And Yuri Collins, this third-year kid at point guard who was really solid last year, but didn't have his best games when they've needed big games from him. He has brought his game to another level. And, in a game like that, when you're playing a high major team on your home court, he steps up and has one of the more ridiculous stat lines I have seen in recent history. So shout out to Yuri Collins.
Yep. Shout out for sure. Anytime you're making those kind of assists, super unselfish playmaking ability right there. And they do have a guard we'll talk about too later with their staff and with Yuri. That reminds us a little bit of that Phil Forte guy. We'll have to ask if he's giving some secrets there. Well, we're closing the show. Anything upcoming that you're excited about this week? There's always something. What are you excited about this week in college basketball, coast to coast?
Well, I mean, I'm not excited about the fact that it's finals exam week. So a lot of people are I'm glad that I'm not taking finals, but
that's the best part about it. You're not taking them.
I'm not taking any, but there are not as many great games. I'll look ahead to the weekend, though. There's a ton on Saturday. I'll shout out one in particular, the Crossroads Classic in Indianapolis. The four, it's such a great basketball state. It's the last year the event's happening. They couldn't kind of agree to all the details of the four teams. I think it's something we need around the country, right? I talked about the in-state high majors playing mid-majors. I think the same thing here. When you have, power conference schools from other conferences in the same state, play these games, make them happen. So it's always a great neutral court event in Indianapolis, and the fans come out and pack it. And Purdue's been outstanding in the story this year, but Butler turned it around, got a huge win on the road at Oklahoma last week. Notre Dame just beat Kentucky. And Indiana's been very solid as well. If Indiana looks the part of an NCAA tournament team, and you're wondering Mike Woodson. So I think it'll be a great event, great four teams, and should be a really fun day of basketball in the state of really a basketball state. Like I said, it matters there more than it does, I think, really most other places in the country. Maybe Kentucky is right up there as well, but Indiana, Kentucky, I think of those two states when I think of college basketball. So looking forward to that Crossroads Classic amongst other games, but those two I'm definitely looking forward to.
Yeah, circle that on your calendar. Finals week, which means after finals, it's like NBA time for coaches and players. Like no school, so the basketball may turn up a little bit. Guys getting more reps in the gym, a little more continuity. We'll see. I always like that time of year because guys get to just focus on ball. So you see teams kind of take a turn that maybe was just up and down, and they may get on a hot streak here. So take a look out for that. Secondly, Kevin Sweeney, one funny story before we go. Give us something. What you got? Now that you're in the real world, no more college student. We're putting you on the spot. One funny moment, funny story before you go.
Man, you're really putting me on. I'm trying to think of anything like recent.
In the professional world, like there's somebody sent you an email. I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't even dressed. I had to put the Zoom on and just have a shirt on. I had no pants on, and I was just gave a presentation and killed it.
Well, how about this one? This is related to what you're saying. I don't know if it's professional, but I was having some furniture delivered last week. I was having a new table delivered for a dining table for my apartment right behind me. And the email said it was going to be there between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. So it's cool with me. Right. Set an alarm for 7:45. I'm ready to go. I don't want to wake up too early. Look, I'm still college age. I like to sleep in. I start to work day a little late. I wake up at 6:50 in the morning to my phone ringing, and the delivery guys are here. I'm like, what's going on? So I'm sprinting around trying to put some pants on. They let them in. I'm awake now, so I'm like, all right, what am I going to do? So I sat down at my new table once it was delivered, and I watched some tape. So that's the adult life right there. Waking up at 7 a.m. and watching Synergy because someone woke me up to deliver a table. So I guess that's what you got for me this week. Maybe next week I'll have a better funny story prepared.
Hey, the fact that you are getting the grind on, getting straight to Synergy, that's shout outs. You got to snaps for that.
That's what we do, man. I just finished a little 7-day work week. I wrote a story yesterday. I was at the game on Saturday. I worked all 5 days. I'm working today. I'm working through the weekend. I'm going to go to a game on Saturday. I'm going to go to a game on Sunday. I fly home Sunday night. I'm going to be on the road during Christmas week twice to see games outside of my hometown. So the grind never stops here.
Ball is life, man. Ball is life.
Really is.
Ball is life. Well, we'll see you next week. Back at Coast to Coast, another Sweeney 7. Some more special guests. Can't wait for it, Sweeney. Until then, be safe. Signing off. We out.